Yo, what's up, dude?
Hello, hello. How's
You
it
can
going?
hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, dude.
Cool, cool.
Sick. Yeah, thanks to everybody that has joined us. I'm here with Brandon, also known as Logical Consistency. We're gonna have a bit of a chat to start with, and then we'll get you guys involved. So please, wait till the end and ask us any questions you want to ask us. There's a little comment box with the question mark in. Please put your questions in there so that they will remain there till the end. Sweet. Brandon, if you could introduce yourself to the audience and let them know what do you do relative to veganism?
Yeah, yeah, no, and thank you for having me here, Kenny. I appreciate it. And I appreciate, our little chats leading up to this, so I appreciate that.
Welcome, man.
Yeah, I've been a vegan activist I guess a full on vegan activist for about a year. So yeah, I've been doing that. I have a YouTube channel, Instagram by the same name, Logical Consistency. And I do street outreach. I also, do debunks and reaction videos to like people on the carnivore diet and, just general nutrition stuff there with when it comes to plant-based eating as well. But yeah, that's what I do. I've been vegan for just recently 7 years. So yeah.
Nice, dude. I'd like to start with asking you before we get into everything about activism. What was your vegan story? Like, how did you go vegan?
Yeah, I mean, I always talk about this, but the first memory I have of like animal suffering, at least, how animals are treated, was from a documentary I saw when I was like 5 years old or 6 years old. It was something on HBO. I don't remember, but there was a scene where where slaughterhouse workers were being interviewed and they were talking about what they saw and how the animals were treated. So that was like my first memory of recognizing or like understanding that animals are treated poorly. And then I never really thought about it until I got into like fitness and nutrition, and I started looking at, um, you know, nutritional studies and researching, and that got me into plant-based diets and plant-based eating. And then I started listening to like Gary Yourofsky. Vegan Gains at the time was like really big. And yeah, then as soon as that, I connected like the moral issue of like, I don't have a justification for continuing to do this, especially when the nutrition is on our side for it. That's what made me switch. So
Yeah, that's sick. It seems like for most people, there's this introduction to something more plant based. Like for me, it was environmental issues,
mhm.
and a lot when we've been vegan for a long time, we tend to have this um, we feel like talking about things from that perspective is super negative, but the reality is if we're both sitting here as ethical vegans, those avenues were part of the building blocks that get us to that point where we make the ethical switch, and it's this whole journey. So yeah, it's super interesting, man. And then from there, how quick did you go from that to wanting to speak up for animals and be an activist, and how did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've been vegan for 7 years, so I've only been doing this for the last
Oh
year. So it
yeah.
took me about 6 years. Yeah, I always wanted to do something. It's just I guess for like 6 years, I really wanted to learn as much as possible and feel like I guess I just didn't feel like I had enough knowledge, or maybe I was, had because I was young, so I went vegan at 18, so I was going to school, I was trying to figure that out. So I just never like did it. But this past year, I said, look, I listened to vegan debates, I watch all these videos, I have, I understand nutrition decently well, I have all of this knowledge. Why am I not doing it? So that's kind of what made me start doing it. That's all.
Nice. What was it like being vegan as a young guy, like an 18
Um,
year old?
yeah, I mean, my family was pretty cool. Like they let me, as long as I like made my own meals and stuff, I could pretty much get what I wanted or what I needed at the grocery store. So they were fine with that. And then it was pretty good. I mean, I went to school, I went to like college in person for the first 2 years, and they had plenty of plant-based options. If they didn't have anything I needed, I'd go to the grocery store down the street. So, it was decently easy. Definitely, as we've seen, I mean, the options have like skyrocketed. So I'm like really happy about the progress that we have made recently with the options. But yeah, no, it was fine back then too.
Sick. Was there with that coming of age thing and being a guy, and I'm sure you were around a lot of other guys, did you get a lot of stick? Like, did you get a hard time?
You know, not really, because I've always been like, I told you, I got into fitness, so I've always like, I power lifted on a vegan diet for like two years. So I'm tall, I'm like 6'3". I was in really good shape. I was strong. So yeah, not really. Like I was somebody who really wasn't like what people think of vegans, who are like skinny and like, I was genuinely like, I don't want to say a meathead at the time, but when I was lifting and powerlifting, I was like kind of a meathead. So I just switched my diet and lifestyle to align with veganism, but I was still lifting. Nothing else there really changed at the time. And one thing I will say about going vegan young, it's a great like filter for people. So like I didn't it was really like, whether it was with dating or with making friends, like if you didn't really get it, um I just wouldn't really hang around with you unless you were family or something. So it's a great filter. It's a great way to like vent, like what's it called, vent people out or whatever. So yeah.
Sure thing, man. Love it. For everyone that's just joining, like me and Brandon are going to answer some like audience questions at the end. So stick your questions in the comment box with the question mark for us. When you got into activism, did you start doing like AV, like cubes, like group activism with organizations?
No. So yeah, I'm a solo guy. I like to do everything solo. I have anything like creative, and even though activism is, it is like trying to advocate for social change, there's a lot of creative choices and like individual choices that go into it. So I'm more of like a solo guy. But I got a lot of experience like with rejection and talking to strangers via photography. So I worked on like street photography projects, and I would go up to strangers and ask for their photo and do stuff like that. So that, I think, really got me used to like confrontation and people being a little unhappy about my presence. So when I started doing it solo, it was no problem. Yeah. So yeah.
Awesome. Do you have any advice for like people that are watching that might want to do what you're doing and do solo street activism?
Yeah, 100%. I would say that if you want to do it solo, make sure you're in a generally safe area. Now, again, some people are kind of confrontation addicts. I kind of like confrontation. I don't mind it. So I go out at the bars, and if you're not really for confrontation, or like if you don't really like to argue that much, go in like a public area where there's plenty of people in the daytime. And then just, you probably know more than you think you do. You probably are better at this than you think you. If you've been vegan for a year or more, if you watch videos, if you listen to, if you do your part to accumulate knowledge, you can do it, right? I know it's nerve-wracking, but you can definitely do it, and you should do it.
Yeah, awesome. And like I feel like as long as you get like a solid foundation of the ethical like argument, there is a lot you can get away with like not knowing about and saying like that's not really my like forte, but I'm like more concerned with this. And so long as you're like well versed in the animal rights conversation, I think you can get away with not being like a nutrition genius, and all you have to do is say the generic stuff. Like all the biggest bodies in the world tell us that it's fine that it's adequate for all people to be vegan, and the environmental thing's the same. You can just reference like the institutions and what have you. So as long as you've got like a good foundation on the ethical thing, I think. But yeah, that's great. And so you turn it into digital content as well? Like, how are you filming it? Like, how do you do that process?
Yeah. I mean, I have a mic set up, just a simple lav mic. I put it on a little like a mic stick or whatever, and then yeah, I just have a camera, so it just records. I don't I typically ask people to record, so I don't just have it running continuously. Some people I know like to do that, but for me, my interactions, there's not, because of how they go. When somebody comes up, they're like they want to come up, they want to come up, they want to talk. Otherwise, people are just smirking or saying something in passing. So that just works for me.
Sick. Do you try different prompts, or do you always have the same prompt every time on your sign?
So recently, so for the past like, I don't know, 8 months or something, I've been kind of doing the same formula, but I find that it's led to entertaining videos, but it hasn't really led to like the goal, which is to try and turn people vegan or get people more on like a vegan path. So I recently switched up my approach, which I think is going to work a lot better. So yeah, I'm constantly like trying to find new techniques, learning from other activists. That's kind of, yeah, you gotta just keep learning.
Yeah, for sure, man. Cool. Well, I look forward to seeing the new prompt that you've got going on. Everybody that's here, when we repost this, we'll have Brandon's handle if Brandon's someone that's new to you, and you can follow along. I think we can get into some audience questions now if you don't have anything else to add, Brandon.
No, I'm cool, man. I'm cool. I appreciate it. Just so I know, you're kind of talking to me or asking me questions, but I'm not too familiar. How long have you been vegan?
Myself.
Uh-huh.
How long have I been vegan? Sorry.
Hmm.
3 years, dude. Just
Nice,
3 years.
nice.
So
Yeah, and
yeah.
what I've always been curious, like, how did you get involved with like this page? And this is a big page. There's a lot of great, like, this is one of the better when it comes to like, like exposing a different side of animals and a different side that people just aren't familiar with.
Yeah.
Nobody gets to see like animals suffering or animals even like like experiencing emotions, because it's so closed off. So how did you get involved with like the page?
Yeah, so it was like, as far as my like passion for veganism, it erupted like quickly. So I'd been vegan for just a couple of years. I've been with FTA for a year, so I've been vegan for a couple of years. But I wanted to speak up about veganism from like day three. Honestly, from when I went vegan, became like super obsessed with accumulating knowledge. Like um read like How Not to Die, Why We Love Dogs Eat Pigs and Their Cows, Food is Climate, tons of books, audiobooks and stuff to like accumulate knowledge. Was super passionate about it. And one of my best mates who works in as a professional vegan as well, like he seen the job come up. He knew how passionate and knowledgeable I was. He sort of put me forward for it, and I just showed FCA like how serious and how passionate I was, and I was really lucky to get the job, man.
That's
That's how it
awesome.
went. So it's the most amazing thing. Like, I really am really grateful for it, man.
Yeah, I was just gonna add, for those of you who don't know, there's a website called veganjobs.com.
Yeah,
It's actually a great website. I'm always looking there just in case, because I love because I don't do activism full time. I still work, so I love like a more vegan centered job. So if anyone is looking for that, veganjobs.com is a great source.
hell yeah, man. That's great advice. I just got, like, as I say, I just got so lucky. But I'm familiar with what it is that you're talking about. Cool, man. So first question is, how do you two cope with activist burnout? Yeah. What do you think, Brandon? Do you ever have that?
So I don't get activist burnout. I'm gonna, like, for me, I don't know what about it. I don't know what it is, but when I'm not able to do street outreach, like now it's winter time, it's about to be spring, I get really down. Like it really messes with my mental health when I can't do outreach. So I have the opposite problem. I don't really get activist burnout. I do get social media burnout. So I was never like a social media guy, but having to constantly post and deal with comments and like that whole thing is very new for me. and that's on top of like my full-time job. So it's just, yeah, that's been very tough. I'm trying to like work through it, but I'm gonna have to, like, I started putting like schedules on my phone of when stuff shuts down, and like, you know, my phone shuts down after a certain time because I just can't. Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah, so I'll be honest with you guys right now. Like, I've not done street outreach as of yet. You can probably tell I'm in a motorhome just now. I'm actually heading from Scotland down to England, where there's much more activism and there's group activism settings. And I'm like coming down to like put myself in that position. Also, people that I work with FTA that do outreach are down there, so I want to meet up with them. Probably feel the most comfortable with the people that I know and doing outreach and stuff. So can't really comment on activist burnout. Although I would say obviously online activism is of course a thing as well. And I have had social media burnout recently. Some people that are watching, if they follow my personal page, will know. Like a couple of weeks ago, I thought I was gonna like just delete my personal social media like permanently and focus on FTA and Defender of Animals, this clothing brand that I have with a friend. And after 6 days, it like I wanted to come back so badly, and I learned from that experience that the break is like so important, and it's actually
Hmm.
changed everything. Like now I'm happy on social media again. I was so burnt out and furious with it. But so I would suggest in either scenario, if you're talking about like real life activism or something online, like just taking a break seems to be clearly like important.
Yeah, yeah. Nothing. If you need a break, take a break. Nothing's gonna happen. You know, if 5 days, like
Yeah,
for social media time, it's like nothing. You know,
yeah,
just take a break, take, you know, whatever you need, and then get back to it. Because if you're trying to do something, I learned this with photography. If you're trying to create something or do something, and you're like not in it, you're burnt out. You're not gonna make anything good anyway, right? You're not gonna do anything good anyway, or at least not as good as you could be doing it. So yeah, I definitely take a break.
yeah, exactly. We put all this pressure on ourselves as vegans that like if we stop for 1 second, like speaking up for animals, that we're like terrible vegans. But can't think like that, man. So Brandon, have you seen Christspiracy? If so, what are your thoughts?
Not yet, not yet. Yeah, I thought about I was gonna go to the premiere on Sunday. In my area there was one, but I had something planned. I'm in the process of planning a wedding with my partner, so yeah, I had something planned there. But I will watch it. Absolutely. I love Cowspiracy. Cowspiracy was a big movie for me when that came out around the time I went vegan. So that was a big one for me. So yeah, I'm excited to see it. I just wasn't able to go to the premiere.
Awesome. So yeah, I won't drop any large spoilers then for yourself and other people watching. But yeah, I've seen Christspiracy. It's an amazing film. It's gonna cause a bit of a rift. I'm sure the information in it, like people will be skeptical of like what the quote unquote spiracy is of this film. There 100% is like a huge plot twist or huge bit of information that's going to be biblical, I suppose, pun intended. Like it's really really good. Definitely watch it. Oh yeah, and if you're like not religious, like I'm not religious, like at all, but it gave me like man, like it actually gave me like more of a positive interpretation of like what it's supposed to be, somewhat. And it will make us better at discussing the topic of religion with non-vegans as well. This film, you have to watch it, man. You have to watch it. Um, so 40-year-old vegan, what's up, dude? What's up, David?
Hey man, how's it going?
Is there someone in the activist movement that you look up to, Brandon?
Um, I mean, Gary Orofsky, his that video, the greatest speech over here, whatever. That one, I mean, I just re-listened to it because I haven't listened to that for years. I just re-listened to it. he tackles every single anti-vegan or non-vegan argument, and he does so like really well. So that one, I mean, if you're not vegan and you haven't listened to it, that's kind of the only video you really need to hear, besides like doing your own research, like if you want to see studies or something. But other activists, I mean, Joey Carbstrong, Earthling Ed, Tash Peterson, pretty much everybody who already goes out and is doing a similar thing, trying to do street outreach. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to say I would say I look up to pretty much everybody that does it, that puts themselves out there, man. Like, it's definitely had a positive influence on myself. But who sprung to mind for me, and it's pretty cool because the person that I'm going to suggest also, like, at the end of like an outreach scenario, like people tend to give like a resource to push them further, and like go do this at the end, like a call to action. And Cliff Grant, he's like someone that I look up to, and his like call to action at the end of his outreach is to go watch the Gary Yourofsky speech, which is kind of funny because who you brought up, man. And he says like, this is like the best speech you'll ever hear. It's the only speech you need to hear, kind of thing. Like, everyone thinks that about this speech. And yeah, like the value that like Cliff Grant, brought to myself, like the thing that really, really sticks out to me, man. And like, I feel like all activists like have something like really great that they offer that's like their own perspective. And for me, like Cliff Grant makes this great point about not letting things get dragged into the weeds, he says. And he's so good at like keeping it on track. And I would have like before I learned this from Cliff Grant, the problem is in a discussion, like I would have just let people like drag me all over the place. And it's really empowering to see that you can just like shut something off and just like, honestly, man, like Cliff does it so well in his outreach all the time. And his outreach is just amazing. I'd recommend it as well.
Yeah, no, that's a good one for sure. Yeah, that's one of the hardest things, is getting derailed, because you want to address people's concern, but sometimes it's literally just they're just doing it to derail you. Especially in my area, there's like a lot of like anti-vegan-esque people. So yeah, no, he does a great job.
Yeah, for sure. And this question says, "Hey, mushroom is considered vegan?" I think there's like this misconception that mushrooms are like, or the network of like mushrooms as a whole are like sentient or something. Do you know anything about this argument?
No, I've never heard that, but as far as I am aware, mushrooms are not sentient. There's no brains, nervous systems, nothing like that. So yeah, mushrooms are good to go.
Mushrooms are definitely vegan, man. People on budgets find vegan food choices more expensive, allegedly. What would you suggest?
I mean, it all depends on what you're eating, right? If you're on like an omnivorous diet, there's also plenty of expensive options to choose from there, right? So when we're talking about like plant-based eating, I don't spend a lot of money at the grocery store. I eat oats, lentils, peanut butter, whole grain breads. There's like some of the cheapest foods in the grocery store are just going to be plant-based. But obviously, like if you're somebody who wants to go mostly to mock meats, I haven't done a direct comparison, but we do know like there was that study out of Oxford where they compared diets in first world countries, and plant-based diets were 30% cheaper on average. So, we have the study that supports it, but also if you just go to the store, just whole foods. I would say whole foods, less mock meats, more like beans, whole grains, frozen fruit. I use frozen fruit in my oatmeal. That's got a lot of great nutrients because they freeze them at the peak of ripeness. And yeah, just make it work,
Yeah, I'm not too sure like where the misconception like comes from, because people on like an omni diet like would notice that like when they purchase the plants, like that's the cheapest part of the shopping, and then when they purchase the meat, it's the more expensive part. And yeah, like it really is just only the meat substitutes that are like the expensive thing with vegan food. But for everyone that's just joined, you can drop some questions for me and Brandon in the comment box with the question marks. We ran out of questions here, but if that does end up being the last question, man, I'd like to ask you, like, what you're obviously just been an activist for about a year, you said, but what are your plans for the future? Just more of the same, keep doing what you're doing, or do you have anything like you want to explore something new within activism or anything like that, man?
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to anything. Like, I want to keep doing what I'm doing, so I'm always going to be doing some kind of street outreach. I think it actually is. I would speculate it's very effective for planting the seed. You know, because sometimes that's the only exposure people are going to get. You know, besides online when they stumble upon it. So I'm going to always do that. Yeah, I've been doing more collaborations. So like I've been doing reaction stuff with like Patrick from Foolproof Mastery, doing stuff like this, you know, just getting more of the message out there and spread around. And then yeah, I'm open to anything. I mean, I'm always looking like I said, I would love to have like a more vegan centric job, like a vegan company. Anything I can do to like get more involved and, you know, yeah, I'm open to doing more stuff.
Yeah, sick. Sounds great, man. This might be like a kind of chill question to end the live on, actually. What's your favorite vegan dish, man? What's your go-to?
You know, that's a good one. I mean, I guess my favorite dish would have to be like a lentil soup. Lentil
Yeah.
soup, like a perfect lentil soup. I can't eat it every day, but a perfect lentil soup with like some fresh bread or something, that would be like perfect. Yeah, for sure.
Nice. I've got this like silly attitude with soup where I always think that I don't like it or it's not a real meal or something, and every time someone gives me it, I'm like, damn, soup's great. Um, Mine would be, I've got an obsession with like food just being encased in a wrap or something I can pick up and shove in my face. So
Hmm.
for me, it's like burritos. I love burritos so much. Oh my
Yeah,
god!
burritos are awesome. Yeah.
So that would be my one. But yeah, man, I think that's it for us. I really enjoyed like hearing your story, man. I learned a lot about your story from this talk today. So I appreciate you coming on, dude. And I wish you a great rest of your day, man.
Thank,
Peace out. Really
thank
appreciate it,
you.
man.
Yeah, thank you, Kenny. Thanks for having me on. Thanks to everybody who joined, and I appreciate it. Yeah. So you have a good one too.
You're very welcome, man. Peace out, dude.
See ya. See you, everybody.